Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cutting Edge Figure Skating Podcast. My name is Kim Dunaway, and in this episode, I will be covering the women's event at the 2024 Cup of China. This event had lots of Grand Prix final implications, and it was a really stacked field, a lot of really fantastic skating at this event, and perhaps some surprising, perhaps some not so surprising results. But let's get into it. So the winner here was Amber Glenn, winning her second Grand Prix of the season. In the short program, landed her triple axel yet again. The triple flip, triple toe, which I gave her lots of kudos and France for being such a reliable combination for her. She actually stepped out of that triple toe and had a hand down on it also. Her triple loop was good. She ended up with a cue call on her triple axel, which she was not happy about, and she ended up with an unclear edge call on the flip. The judges actually had her everywhere from first to fifth in the scoring, which was kind of wild. It was very, very close amongst those top five skaters, very reminiscent of Skate America. So she was second by a hair at the slimmest of margins, 0.02 behind Mona Chiba coming into her free skate. She started off like she started off so many times with this triple axel, landing it well, landing the combo, sort of landing everything in that first half. And we get to the second half and you feel like you're holding your breath. And the real test comes after the triple loop, double axel combination that she did, which I felt like was already a clue because she only did a triple loop, double axel at French. Only a triple loop, double axel, but she added a second double axel here. I couldn't tell you if that was planned or not. I'm sure it's something that she does in practice from time to time, but she put that second double axel there. So I was like, okay, she's feeling comfortable enough to add a third jump here. This is a good sign. She then landed the triple flip. It was later called on a quarter, and all of her flips ended up with unclear edges at this competition. And then she landed that triple loop. And this is the first time that we have seen Amber go clean. There's always been a mistake somewhere, even at the Nationals, when she got on the podium and scored nearly 140 at Nationals. She made just a little mistake on that triple axel to begin with. Same thing last season. She would usually do better with the other jumps if she didn't land the triple axel. And then when she did land the triple axel, she'd have that awesome beginning and then fall apart in the end. So it was really satisfying to see her skate well here. Also, it wasn't like this exuberant celebration when she finished the program. She had a moment at the end, but I thought that was also a good sign because it feels like she's getting those emotions in check. And Mark even commented that her program was choreographed to sort of give her the mental space to be able to complete these jumps. And so far, everything has really worked for her. She got 144 points, which next to Cowrie, it's the highest score that we have seen in women's skating this season. Cowrie leads with 152 points, which based upon this program, I think it's hard to see Amber getting 150. Obviously, with clean calls on her edges on the flips, she could go higher than what she did here, but not a lot higher. Even so, really, really fantastic Grand Prix season for Amber. She becomes the first American skater to win two Grand Prix events since Ashley Wagner did it 12 years ago in 2012. And since the event officially started in 1995, there are three other ladies in addition to Ashley and Amber who have made this feat. Can you name who they are? You want to pause the podcast really quick and quiz yourself? So the two of them I think are pretty easy to guess. Michelle Kwan, obviously, she did it 4 times in her career. Sasha Cohen did it twice in her career. The one that might get you is Alyssa Cisney, who had that amazing season in 2010 and won 2 in that season. So Amber becomes part of a club of 5 American women who have won at least 2 Grand Prix events in the same season. Of course, they only do 2 Grand Prix now, but back in the 90s, they would do sometimes 3. They would do 2 that would count, and they could have an extra one if they wanted. In second place here was Mona Chiba, and she was oh so close to winning here in the short program. Love that long edge out of her double axel. It's just exquisite. She has some incredible back flexibility that's really showcased on that final layback spin that she does. Been a big fan of this short program for her all season. She won the short program, like I mentioned, by just the smallest of margin. So it was virtually a dead heat going into the free skate. And she basically needed a personal best to win. She scored just under 144 points to win 4 continents earlier this season. And she needed 144 points here to get ahead of Amber, what she is capable of getting. She goes out, nails every single jump. You know I love the gorgeous spiral that she did in her choreo sequence. She gets to her step sequence and she falls. She ends up getting a level 4 on it, which she was unable to do in Japan a couple of weeks ago, but she ends up 3.5 points behind Amber. The mistake on the step sequence ends up costing her about 2.7 points. So about 1.7 points from the step sequence and then a point from the fall deduction, which isn't quite enough to close that gap, but there's obviously a loss in PCS with a fall. How much of a loss is that is the question. The difference between her PCS here and her PCS in NHK was just under 0.6. And so if you add all of that together, it's about 3.3, which means it would have been incredibly close to Amber. It would have been very interesting to see which way the judges went. Obviously, we didn't get to see that. She had the unfortunate fall. Good thing for her here is she had margin here to still get into Grand Prix final. So getting second here combined with her second at NHK, she is easily into the Grand Prix final with 26 points. She did also end up with a couple of unclear edge calls on her Lutzes, but that only cost her about a couple of points. That would not have made the difference between her being first and second. Really was that fall that did it for her. In third place was Chion Kim of Korea. In her short program, the only issue for her was she got a Q call on her triple Lutz. But as we have seen this season, calls can be the difference in being on or off the podium. And going into the free skate, she was in fourth. She was not in a podium position because of that call in the short program. Really enjoy this short program that she does. The outfit works. I like the use of the more techno music that she uses in the step sequence. In her free skate, if you were to compare her with her other Korean teammate here, Min-Chae Kim, the difference between them really when we come into that second mark is the arm movements throughout the program and the commitment to the choreography. I don't ever find Chion Kim's programs to be the most memorable or the most exciting, but she is always working to the best of her skill set. And she has a tremendous amount of determination when she is out there skating. For instance, here, she's unable to get the triple toe onto the first triple Lutz that she does like it's planned, but it's no problem for her. She just throws that triple toe onto the next one, which was actually a better Lutz because she ends up with an undercall on that first one. She did have a couple of calls that cost her about 3 points, which was the margin between her and Mona Chiba. It would not have gotten her into the Grand Prix final, and it would not have kept Mona Chiba out. What it does do is it puts her behind Rinka Watanabe as an alternate. And so if somebody were to withdraw, that little bit there is the difference between her potentially going and not. But of course, it doesn't appear that anybody's going to withdraw as of right now from Grand Prix finals. So it really shouldn't matter. And it is good to see her on the podium because she was just off the podium at her first Grand Prix. In fourth place here was Rion Tsumiyoshi of Japan. She has been pretty good for bronze in all of her Grand Prix events. Unfortunately for her, just a really stacked field here. In her short program, everything was well done. She had a personal best of over 70 points. 3 of the judges actually had her in first. So she had a fantastic opportunity coming into this because she was in third going into the free skate to medal here. Chose to take the quad out of the free skate, which I understand completely really hasn't been a super consistent jump for her, and the fact that they took it out here probably means it wasn't super consistent in practices leading up to it either. But she does have some other mistakes in the program. She steps out of her triple lutz and she falls on her triple loop. Even with those mistakes, she still scores over 131 points and gets 202 points as her overall total in a fourth place effort. And we have seen twice this Grand Prix season, both at Skate America and at Finland, where there was no lady that got over 200 points. It was unfortunate here that she was able to get over 200, but there were so many fabulous skates here that it wasn't enough for her to get on the podium, whereas other Grand Prix, it would have been enough to win. It's a very cool program. I think it's a great showcase of her skating skills. She's using like new age music from like a Welsh composer, but unfortunately just too many mistakes, and the free skate keeps her off the podium here. I think that she's still in the conversation for a spot for Worlds or for continents if that doesn't quite work out, even if though she didn't make Grand Prix final. Quality of her skating is really good, and I don't think she did anything to take her out of that conversation. It's just that some other ladies are going to get the opportunity to sort of impress that selection committee a little bit more. In fifth place here was our third Japanese lady, and that was Rinka Watanabe. She also had a chance to get into Grand Prix final, having gotten a silver at Skate America. Had she gotten a silver or better here, she would have been in. In her short program, which she's skating to Moonlight Sonata, triple lutz, she did triple loop, triple toe, but she got a Q on the triple loop. Judges kind of had her all over the place. They had her everywhere from second to sixth. It's a decent program. I just feel like it was a tougher field here than it was at Skate America. I also feel like the program didn't stand out as much as it did there either. In her free skate, she went for the triple axel. She does land it. She ends up with a Q call on it and negative GOE. Still ends up getting over 6 points, and she didn't step out of it. She didn't fall on it, so I thought that was a really positive step in the right direction. She did not attempt it at Skate America, but she did say at Skate America that she might bring it later in the season, which she did here. She had a really strong start to this program. Triple loop, triple toe, triple lutz, double axel, but in that second half of the program, 2 costly falls on her triple lutz and a really rough fall on her triple loop. And she really needed everything here to really have a chance at the podium. She still got 127 points with the 2 falls. I feel like she's almost there, but I feel like I say that a lot with Rinka. There's just always some mistakes here and there that just kind of creep up for her, unfortunately. But it was good to see her land the triple axel, even if it was on the quarter. In sixth place here was Kimmy Rond of Switzerland. In the short program, skated another clean short. I think she's finally figured out the short program. It's been her nemesis really for the first 2 seasons of her senior career. That first season was kind of split between juniors and seniors, but she was always putting herself in a deficit, having to work from behind. And oftentimes she'd have this big free skate and she'd land on the podium. Finally, this season, she gets the short program together, but she still never seems to find herself in a podium position. Unfortunately, even though she's making personal best in her short program, she still is quite a bit away from 70 points in the short program, which is kind of what she needs to get to if she wants to be able to be in medal contention at Grand Prix. In her free skate, she starts out with 2 really pretty tight jumping passes, but after that, really calms down, lands all of the rest of her jumps well. I mentioned in one of the Challenger episodes that something to watch with her this season is the low amount of GOE that she gets on her jumps. The height of her jumps is very low, especially in those combinations. And that's really the difference between her and what we're seeing out of Mona Chiba or some of the top women. That makes it difficult for her to get into the 130s and ultimately in a 140. It's very hard to see her get from where she is there to that without getting higher GOE on her elements, which she's just not getting right now. She got 128 points in her free skate, which was great for her. It's the best that we've seen her do all season. She was really thrilled with that. She is inching ever so close to 200. So it's been good to see her consistency a lot better this season. I just think that in order to really get up there with some of these other ladies going to have to find a way to get her jumps a little bit higher. And I don't know what the answer to that is, and if there is an answer. But I do know that, she grew a lot, and I'm sure it's been a fight just to get the rotations there. And so maybe that can be the next thing. Just a minor nitpick. Why are we wearing a gold scrunchie? Like, I know scrunchies are back, which I refuse to wear because I wore out scrunchies in the 90s. I will never, ever wear scrunchies again. It made me think, was it Jenny Mino that used to always wear the scrunchies in her hair? So when I saw that, and I'm sure she's been wearing it all season. I don't know why I noticed it in this competition. I don't know why it bugged me so much. But I'm just like, why are we wearing a gold scrunchie? Like, why are we wearing a scrunchie at all? Just had to mention that. Like I said, minor nitpick. All right. In 7th place was Madelinekus, who was 8th in both segments, but finished 7th overall. Big issue for her was in the short program. Instead of getting a triple toe off in her combo, she just did a triple Lutz double toe. So that lowered her base value and put her behind a lot of the other ladies. Maddie does not do perfectly well in the PCS department, and she oftentimes struggles getting levels on spins and on step sequences. So when she misses a jump or when she doubles something, it really throws her score off. I mean, her ceiling right now seems to be 65, 66-ish. And so when she ends up with like a 61, puts her nearly 10 points behind some of the leaders, which makes it very difficult because she doesn't have 140-point potential to sort of pull herself off that point. And the free skate started off with the triple Lutz triple toe that she missed in the short program, lands all of her jumps until she gets to the end of the program, and then she doubled 2 jumps, and that cost her some spots in this competition. It was the Lutz that she doubled and her triple loop, and I feel like this is very common for her. It always seems like it's the later jumps that give her the most trouble. Not that sometimes she doesn't struggle with that triple Lutz early on, because sometimes she does, but I feel like it's just a pattern that we've seen going back couple of seasons now, whether it's a challenger event or it's Worlds at the very last. It always seems like those last few jumps are not as well rotated. Step outs, just a lot more mistakes in the second half of the program. Don't feel like it's a training issue for her. Stamina doesn't seem to be an issue. I don't know if it's a mental issue, what exactly it is, but I've seen a pattern develop with those jumps towards the end of her program. And unrelated to Cup of China, but meanwhile in Poland at Warsaw Cup, Catherine Medlin-Spence, who was in her first international event at age 23, won that event. Canadian figure skaters, another Canadian figure skater that now has tech minimums for Worlds. So we have gone from just Madelinekus to now we've got 4. Poor Kaya Reuter is still chasing hers, unfortunately, but something to watch. Perhaps it's a little bit of storyline. I think it'd be great to have a more competitive Canadian women's nationals. And I think that having some competition would be good for Maddie, honestly. All right, moving on to 8th place was Anastasia Gubanova. In the short program, I was like, why is she up in the judges' grill at the very beginning? I don't like all of the mugging to the judges. Like, I don't mind a little bit, but I just feel like the last few seasons, we've just seen so much of it. I just don't personally love it. Maybe it's because if you are sitting opposite from the judges, it's very difficult for you to be engaged when the skater is at your back. Like, I get it. They're performing to people that are scoring them. I just don't love it. She had a big triple flip in this short program, too big, and she had to step out of it. And then she fell on her triple Lutz, so she ended up in 11th place after the short program. And she ended up with a call on that triple Lutz too. So the undercall on top of that just really, really put her down really low in the standings. I feel like her body is still performing in this number, but her face had just kind of left the building. She definitely kind of checked out from this short program after she made her mistakes. And yes, it sucks when you make mistakes, but you've still got to go out there and perform to a 10, just like if you were killing the program. And the free skate, much better. Only issue that she had was a step out on the triple Salchow. She didn't get any calls. She actually got 2 spins. I got a level 4, and her step sequence got a level 3, which is something that she struggled with. It's something that I harped on her a lot last season, that she's just leaving points out on the table by not getting these other non-technical elements in her program. I feel like Gabanova has two gears. She has like this kind of cheeky gear that you see in the short program, that you saw in the short program last year as well. And she has this gear that she uses in her free skate, where it's just like this attempt to emote, to connect to the program. And I just don't buy it. It just doesn't feel authentic to me. And maybe that's unfair. Like maybe she is connecting to the program. I don't know exactly what it is, that it just feels like that she goes out and skates. And if I don't look at her face, if I were just to sort of look at her body, I think I could get into the program more. But it just doesn't feel real, for lack of a better way to describe it. And I want her to have some more things to pull from, not just this, oh, I'm doing a more classical or modern style routine, so let me put on this face, or oh, I'm doing this more edgy or poppy type of, so let me put on this face. I just don't feel like she's got a lot of range. And I really had high hopes for Gubanova coming into this Olympic quad, because I liked what I saw from her in the year of the Olympic season and that first year out when she came and won Europeans. But we just haven't seen any real consistency. We haven't seen a lot of growth from her either. Like I mentioned, give her definite kudos, because she has worked on some of those elements like the spins and the step sequence that she really needed to work on. But the overall presentation of her program, I still feel like needs a lot of work. And I don't feel like I was nitpicking on it as much 2 years ago as I am now. Moving on to 9th place was Yi Zhu of China. So Yi Zhu, born in the US, went to China to compete, was selected to be on their Olympic team last Olympics for home Olympics, had a really, really tough time after that. The press was very, very hard on her. And so it was really good to see her here looking mentally healthy and like she was enjoying skating. And I don't feel like we've seen that really from her. We haven't seen a lot of her since the Olympics. She was at Cup of China last season, but she looks so much more joyful in this competition than what we have seen. And that was really, really nice to see. In her short program, nice jumps. She had a beautiful dress. She's skating to Your Song by Ellie Goulding. Was really excited to see her do well in the short program. And the free skate, another gorgeous dress. Really, all of the Chinese ladies had beautiful dresses in both programs. Like, who was their designer? They're knocking it out of the park. She's skating to A Star Is Born by Lady Gaga, which I feel like there's got to be a reason she picked that music. Like, there has to be like an underlying, like, hey, I'm coming back from the ashes a little bit. She did fall on her opening triple flip, but she rebounded really well and landed everything else. The Chinese ladies as a whole were at the bottom in terms of PCS, 10th, 11th, and 12th, but she was the highest of the three. And coming out as a top Chinese lady, I think has to give her some confidence coming out of this competition, going into their Chinese nationals. And 10th place here was Jingji An. She's the only one of the Chinese ladies that actually has tech minimums for Worlds. Limited amount of competitions left to get those. So I think she's likely to go to Worlds in Boston to be the Chinese representative because of that. She's also the youngest of the Chinese ladies that were here. In the short program, she was the best of the Chinese women. She was skating to Voila, clean, little bit simpler tech content, just did a triple loop as her solo jump, and her combination was a triple Salchow triple toe, which would be one of the easier combinations. We don't see it a whole lot. We see a triple toe more, which is worth about the same amount of points. But beautiful jumps, great posture in that program, and her free skate, fabulous dress. She's skating to a piece of music called Curse of the Golden Flower. I feel like she kind of zoned in to her jumps and didn't really let the audience into the performance. I think it's a neat program with some cool choreography, but she ended up with 3 undercalls and a cue, whereas she didn't get any calls in the short program. Didn't get a single level 4 on an element either. unfortunately for her, wasn't able to stay above Yizhu and fell a spot into 10th place. But she is only 17. I think she has a really good upside. I always worry with the state of Chinese figure skating right now if they're going to support her in the best way. They're certainly, I think, are known for having good financial support, but I don't know that they're always making decisions that are in the best interest of the skaters, as we've kind of seen with Bo Jin, how their pairs program has really kind of fallen apart. I think that she could be developed well, and only time will tell. In 11th place here was Min-Chae Kim of Korea. The short program was good here like it was at Skate America. And it's a very good program when she's on. I love some of the details in her choreography. Gets into the free skate, and the first half of the program was fine. But the wheels just came off in that second half, and they came off fast. She had a fall into triple Lutz. She had a fall into triple flip, and then she popped her double axle into nothing, just an axle, which wasn't even a full rotation. The program was just at that point completely void of any choreography. She was just kind of skating and jumping like it was practice. It was weird. I'm like, what happened between the beginning of the program to the middle towards the end? The step sequence had no energy. She actually fell out of her ending pose. It was just bizarre. And it started to make me wonder if a lot of the drama that has happened with the Korean women in the off season, if some of that has sort of infiltrated into some of the other Korean women as well. Because gosh, they looked so strong last season, really the last couple of seasons, and this year, just a complete 180. Now, obviously, some of that is that two of their best skaters are suspended and not been able to compete, even though Hyen Lee has had some type of reversal in the court. Don't know what that looks like going forward, but this opportunity that has been available for other Korean ladies to sort of take those spots, nobody wants it. They're kind of like Canadian men right now. Like, nobody wants these world spots. I don't know what Korea is going to do. Obviously, Ah-Soon Yoon looked good in her Grand Prix, but boy, I don't know. It's frustrating with Min-Chae because she comes out in the short program and looks so fabulous, and then both the long program here and at Skate America just completely have fallen apart. And then in last place here was Hongji Chin, very statuesque. She's almost 5'8". She is coached by Jingjing Lee. So if you were a skating fan prior to like 2006, you probably would have seen him. He was one of the first really good Chinese male skaters. In her short program, fell out of her triple toe, was intended to be a triple toe combo. She fell on her double axle. She's skating to Experience, which was her last year's program. She gets in the kiss and cry, and she's just coughing up a storm. It's clear that she doesn't feel completely 100%. And in the free skate, it looked like she didn't feel well. She had a lot of jump struggles. She was skating very slow. She couldn't really get super invested in the program. So I think that's super bummer for her in her one Grand Prix event in her home country that she wasn't feeling well and wasn't able to skate her best. We may see her again at Four Continents. We'll see what Team China decides to do with that team. All right, so that is all 12 ladies here. Who gets the Pamchenko? I think that Amber makes the most sense, having won both of her in Grand Prix, skating a clean free skate for the first time and scoring over 140 points internationally. So Amber gets the Pamchenko Award this week. I think she also got it for France too, pretty sure. All right, so our Grand Prix final picture is complete. We've got Kaori and Amber with 30 points. They won both of their Grand Prix. We've got Wakaba Higuchi with 28 points, who won and came in second at Skate America. We've got Hana Yoshida, who won in Finland and came in third at Skate Canada. And we've got Mona Chibe and Rita Mitsuke with 26 points, who had silver medals in both of their Grand Prix. My understanding is that this is the first time, or at least it's the first time maybe in a really long time, that you had to have 26 points to get into the Grand Prix final. Like oftentimes we see a little bit more variance. Somebody's got a bronze medal and a silver medal or something like this. But these ladies really were the cream of the crop. This potentially might be the best looking matchup that we have. I don't know. I feel like all of the disciplines have really interesting matchups, or at least some interesting stories, but I think you could make an argument that literally any of these ladies could win. Obviously, it's Cowrie going to come in as a heavy favorite, but if she were to slip up, all of these ladies have 140 point potential in their free skate, 70 point potential in their short program. It should be really exciting, and I look forward to previewing that next week in my Grand Prix final preview episode. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. You can find me on all the socials at Ice Skate Podcast. That includes YouTube, Blue Sky, X, Threads, and Instagram. Definitely check out Instagram. I put up Hawaii Baker's complete performance. It's the only one that I took like a video of the entire performance from beginning to end. Everything else I sort of chopped up in clips here and there. Also posted Katya Gordieva and her daughter, which I was in tears watching them skate together. It was just so beautiful. So definitely check out some of those videos if you are into show skating at all, or if you just like to see some blasts from the past. You can also send me a line at thecuttingedgepod@gmail.com. Hope you enjoyed Cup of China and you've enjoyed the Grand Prix series so far this season. I'll be back with one more recap, and that is pairs. I hope everyone has a great rest of your week. And if you celebrate Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving to you all.